All right. Hello, everyone. This is Conversations with Rob. Please like and subscribe our videos. And if you're listening to us on the radio, thank you so much for listening. This is going to be a taped segment. We are doing this actually the day after the State of the Union address for President Trump in 2020. I have a special guest that I was really enthusiastic to find about online as a person that started following West Virginia politics with Richard Ojeda, his race in 2018, and talking to him on the program a couple of times. I really started following what's going on in the state, and I'm pleased to meet Stephen Smith. He is a community organizer, was big involved in the teachers' strikes back in 2018. He's been organizing throughout his life. And Stephen, thanks so much for coming on the program. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks so much.
All right, Stephen, so let's tell the viewers, you started West Virginia Can't Wait. I know you're running and you're trying to organize your campaign, but not only your campaign, a lot of people around the community are trying to get to run with you for other positions. Can you tell the viewers about that and what got you started in that?
Yeah, sure. So what we knew, what all of us know, what everyone watching this knows, is that one politician isn't the answer. Never in American history has one governor or president or politician brought the kind of change that we need. It always requires a movement from the bottom up. And so when we launched our campaign more than 14 months ago, we knew we wanted it to be something that built long-term political infrastructure. So here we are now, a little over a year later. We've done 165 town halls. We've built our platform from the bottom up. And as you referred to, we're actually now up to 84 candidates that we've recruited to run together. All of us have promised never to take corporate political action committee money, never to cross a picket line, and never to hide from a debate. We want to have a politics that responds to working people. Then we have to have candidates that aren't bought and paid for.
So I want to talk about being a community organizer. As a person that's been in politics, and it's a young person of 29, you know, I've been in politics, and I really admire and have done community organizing within my community and with political action campaigns that I've worked in. Why does the right wing give community organizers a bad rap? We saw what happened when Obama was running. They said, oh, a community organizer, they haven't done anything in their life. What is that? Some sort of joke? Why do you think that people give community organizers a bad rap?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I mean, my guess is that it's the kind of thing that oftentimes in West Virginia, outsiders have come in and tried to tell us what to do. And I think sometimes when you hear a word like a community organizer or something like that, we have an idea of people who are not grounded in communities or political operatives coming in and messing things up. And that's the opposite of what we're trying to do in this campaign. We've got a bunch of people who are from West Virginia. You know, of our 84 candidates, 14 of them are educators who were leaders in the teacher strike. That we're building this thing from the bottom up. But we can't be too worried about what the right wing says or does. If they're saying bad things about us, it means we're doing something right.
Right. So were you involved in politics throughout your life? Is that why you want to run for political office?
No, most of my life has been on the outside of politics, trying to get politicians to do the right thing. So for 7 years before I ran for office, I'm running for governor right now, I ran a statewide anti-poverty organization. And you know, we would gather 700, 800, 900 people up to the state capitol every year, poor and working families, children of all ages, to try to represent us in the legislature. And, you know, what became obvious was that the people we were bringing up to the Capitol were 10 times smarter and more compassionate and more courageous than the lobbyists who ran our government. And so the idea of this campaign is, you know, we got to keep going up to that Capitol and trying to convince them to listen to us. But mostly we've got to go up there and try to replace them with us. And that's what we're after.
Right. So, Stephen, you're a younger guy. You know, we see a lot of politicians that have been in the system. They don't like the young guys running. But, you know, we see in West Virginia, it was kind of the same people. We see this in a lot of states. I shouldn't just single out West Virginia. It's the same people running for office. Joe Manchin, that's been a name in West Virginia. Robert Byrd, who passed away, was in office for a long time. Also, there was the governor before, what was it, Tromblin? He was in office for quite a while. Yeah. Why do you think West Virginia kind of keeps putting the same? I talked to Richard Ojeda too, and he said it's the same old, as you've talked about too in the interview, that guys that keep their lobbyists, they put their buddies in power. Why do you think it's always the same old, instead of like youthful guys that have new, bright ideas like yourself?
Mostly there hasn't been options. In West Virginia, we call it the good old boys club. That in most of West Virginia, your county government, your city government, your state government, it's if we want there to be different people on the ballot, if we want government to represent us, we can't wait around for someone else to do it. We've got to put our own names on the ballot. We got to knock doors. We got to write our own platforms. And I think that's the moment we're getting at in West Virginia, where whether it was the teachers and school service personnel strike, or the response to the floods in 2016, or the CWA strike, all across West Virginia, the people who are fighting the Rockwell plant in Jefferson County, all across West Virginia, people are saying, you know what? We can't wait for anyone else. We're going to build this government with our own hands, from the ground up. And that's true for anyone who's listening to this or watching this, that there really is no alternative to doing the work one conversation at a time to build power in your own local community. There's no shortcut. And so if you've ever thought of doing it, maybe today is the day to pitch in.
Right. A couple more questions about, about West Virginia, and then I want to go into the politics of West Virginia. You're running against Jim Justice, who was a Democrat. Now he's a Republican. Now he's kissing Trump's behind. He was doing rallies for Trump. And Woody Thrasher, too, is running against him in a tight race for the Republican primary. Why are you best positioned to beat a candidate such as a billionaire like Jim Justice or Woody Thrasher?
Yeah, I mean, the way we think you should judge candidates is by who's behind them, right? That a candidate is the representative of the people who donate and who lead the campaign. And in our campaign, we're the only campaign in West Virginia history to have a staff that's been unionized. We're the only campaign that's ever sworn off of corporate political action committee donations. We're the only campaign in this race to not only break, but double the previous record for small dollar donations in a governor's race. So we think we're the campaign to defeat those guys, because the people behind us, the people fueling this movement, are working class people, middle class people. That what we want is a government that's not, you don't have one savior at the top. We want a government of the people, where the people who work the hardest and bear the most are also the ones writing the laws and governing. And the thing is, man, it's working. So even though we don't take corporate PAC money, we've outraised every other candidate in the race, including Jim Justice and Woody Thrasher. And we're leading in the polls in the Democratic primary. Again, even though we don't have the traditional support from wealthy good old boys club members in Charleston, we're building the campaign county by county, town hall by town hall. And the latest poll had us up by 3 percentage points in the Democratic primary. So we can do this. We can win these kind of campaigns. We just have to stop pretending to be like the people that we're trying to remove from office.
Agreed. I want to ask one more question before I switch the topic. As far as what are you running on, and also with that, what are the issues that you're hearing a lot when you're campaigning, going door to door, and even your organizers hearing when they go door to door, the important issues that are going on in West Virginia?
Yeah, so we actually built our policy platform from the bottom up. Literally thousands of people's words were included in the platform that folks can now find online at wvcan'twait.com. 100 plus town halls, more than 11,000 conversations with voters. And then we came up with a draft plan, put that draft plan back out to 47 platform parties where people got together in church basements and living rooms to look through and edit the document, make sure it represented the will of the people. And so what you'll see on that document is a whole bunch of issues that we're told, that we are told constantly are impossible, but that are totally possible if we're the ones running the government. Right. Things like full cannabis legalization, a state level wealth tax, shifting tax breaks and giveaways from out-of-state corporate interests to small businesses and family farms and cooperatives. Over and over and over again, what we find is a government and a tax code where the people who have the most pay the least, and the people who have the least pay the most, and we're trying to flip that the right side up.
I want to talk about West Virginia. In Minden, West Virginia, in 1970, they had a population of 1,200. It went down to 250 people. Many of those people have died or moved away. They had cancer, health issues. The land and houses aren't worth anything now because of all those issues as far as, they're basically being poisoned. What do you hear when you hear from people, and this is going around all over West Virginia, what do you hear from the people of Minden and these people in West Virginia that are being poisoned and their houses aren't worth anything and they're basically left out by the government and they're left to die?
No, that's right. We were just in a place called Paden City, West Virginia. Folks should look it up, Paden City in West Virginia on Sunday. They just got a notice that they've got unsafe levels of TCE in their water. And what they're finding out is that they've had unsafe levels for years, but only now are being told about it by local government. Look, this is what happens when you have a government that is bought and paid for by out-of-state corporate interests. And it's not just in West Virginia. All across the country, we have government for sale to the highest bidder. The good news is, even though it's a rigged game, even though politics is a rigged game, if we still get more votes than our opponents, we get to win. We get to govern for the people, and that's the thing we're doing. We don't pretend that this is easy or that we aren't going to get attacked every step of the way, but we think it's worth it.
Right. So, Stephen, I know you're trying to organize and bring these people in that are running also on your platform into office with you, but we all know that there's still going to be the same corruption, corrupt people, even though you're not corrupt, there's going to be some of those corrupt people still there. As far as this sort of issue with the water and the poison, and even the air quality in general, for people that have been suffering, do you believe they should get rather Medicare for all from their government, because they've been poisoned by the government who took the money from these, the politicians took the money from these people. Should these people get Medicare for all or some sort of money back from the government for being, screwed basically by the government?
Yeah, absolutely. We believe in Medicare for all for everyone. But the justice we are going to get, the justice anyone is going to get in West Virginia is only going to come from a fight. That's the only thing in American history that ever works, is when people come together across race and across county lines, across culture, and stand side by side and refuse to be divided. When we do that and we're willing to confront power head on, we don't win everything, but it's the only thing that ever works. And that's what we're trying to do in West Virginia, taking the lead from the teachers and school service personnel who literally changed what was politically possible by going out on strike and forcing a Republican legislature and governor into some major concessions on the education issue. Now, we got to finish the job by putting a government in place that sees teachers and school service personnel and children as a priority. But we learned that lesson, that only when we're willing to confront power with power, only when we're willing to do the work, and only when we refuse to be divided, do we have a chance of fighting back.
We see a lot of areas, as we see all over the country in West Virginia, where there's not a lot of jobs. A lot of these jobs, McDonald's, Burger King, Wednesdays, those jobs make $7.25 to $8 some odd dollars an hour. People can't live on that. And a lot of that's, push people into, depression, opioids, taking pills, which is really sad. What is your plan for getting rid of this opioid crisis and also the job issue all over West Virginia to get some high-paying, good jobs back in West Virginia?
Yeah, so there's a lot there. With regard to the overdose crisis, we have to make the people who have gotten rich off of destroying a generation pay for what they've done. That means the pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies, and then it means providing the treatment that people need and deserve. We have people going weeks, months, more than a year waiting for treatment in West Virginia. That is completely unacceptable. It means turning our schools and community centers into places of healing and places where kids can have healthy alternatives to drug abuse. It also means putting people in recovery in positions of power. That one of the things our society does, we would not have a successful civil rights movement without Black leadership. We wouldn't have a women's movement without the leadership of women. And we're not going to solve the drug crisis in America without the leadership of and being led by and listening to people who are in recovery from substance use disorder. So those are some of our ideas. People can read the full plan on our website with regard to recovery. And then with regard to the economy, the answer we think is not just to try to get some company to magically drop good jobs on us. The answer is to make sure that every single job is a good job, right? That's the lesson we can take from coal miners in West Virginia. 100 years ago, coal mining was the worst job on planet Earth, right? You were more likely to die on the job if you were a coal miner in West Virginia than if you were a soldier in World War I. Meanwhile, they didn't even pay you in real money. You were paid in company script, and you were segregated Black, white, and immigrant workers. Mine workers, through union organizing, through building power from the bottom up, turned one of the worst jobs on planet Earth into a decent middle, sometimes even upper middle class living by fighting. And that's what we have to do with every job. There shouldn't be a job in society that doesn't provide for a family to live a decent life. And we can have that right now as soon as we stop allowing ourselves to get robbed by multinational corporations, by their lobbyists, by the politicians that they own.
So let me say this, Stephen. We saw Donald Trump in 2016 went into, well, we even go back before that. Bernie Sanders went in there in 2016. He won every county. Donald Trump came back and won 40 some odd % of the vote in West Virginia. He went in there with his little hard hat and his little shovel and said he was going to bring coal back. I've talked to quite a few people over there. It says that coal is just the same as it was before. How do you approach these coal employees who lost their job and they say, you're a Democrat, you're not going to help us with the coal industry? And I know you just talked about bringing other jobs, but how would you handle these people that are so fixated on everything that Trump says, they believe it, and he's just a con man telling them lies?
Yeah, so I may have a higher opinion of coal miners than you do. So in our campaign, we have a volunteer team in all 55 counties, and then we have 39 what we call constituency teams, teachers, social workers, students, veterans. One of our teams is coal miners. And in fact, no one knows better than a coal miner what out-of-state coal companies are capable of when it comes to pay and benefits and regulations, right? We've got coal miners and coal miners' families in this generation who have lost family members because of unsafe practices by coal company executives and the politicians they own. That coal miners are not the problem. Coal mining voters are not the problem in West Virginia. The problem in West Virginia are the politicians too often in both parties who are more interested in serving coal company executives than people, and that our job is not to convince anybody of anything. Our job my job as someone who wants to serve in public office is to be led by, is to listen and be led by the people who are most affected by the actions of the government about what they want in government. And when we do that, we actually find that there's plenty of common ground between coal miners and educators and environmentalists and students, that we actually aren't each other's enemies, but we have a common enemy, which are the corrupt politicians and out-of-state corporations that are getting rich off of all of us.
Agreed. You mentioned infrastructure quite a few times in previous videos I watched on you. I know infrastructure is a big problem in West Virginia. What is your plan to bring infrastructure back? I mean, the roads are crumbling, not just in West Virginia, but all over the country. We saw bridges collapse in Minnesota years back, and the same stuff is happening all over the country. So what is your plan for infrastructure?
Yeah, we call it the Works Progress Administration for West Virginia, the new WPA for West Virginia. Every time our country has been in a recession or a depression where you've got crumbling infrastructure and you've got a whole bunch of people who want to work, it turns out those two problems have the same solution. You need a massive jobs program that puts people back to work, restores the infrastructure, and that infrastructure then becomes the key to attracting other businesses and union shops to set up in your town, in your state, in your country. So that's what we're planning. And the trick is to make sure that that's paid for, that infrastructure is paid for by the people who've gotten rich off the system for far too long. That's why we support a state level wealth tax. It's why we support turning our individual tax rate and property tax rate and business tax rate right side up instead of upside down. That we can have a government in West Virginia and the United States where people pay their fair share, but only if we all come together and fight like hell for it. All
right. A couple more questions about national politics. What is your take on impeachment?
I don't have a take on impeachment. I think one of the things that happens a lot at the national level is that politics becomes a sport played by rich people. And when politics is a sport played by rich people, everybody else gets hurt. That the National Democratic Party and the National Republican Party have not done much for West Virginia in a very, very long time. That's why our people are hurting. And what we support are candidates from either party at the national level who want to put more power and jobs and money in the hands of working people. And we oppose anybody who's trying to turn politics into a game or a show when we've got people who aren't eating, when we've got people who can't get basic drug treatment, when we've got 1 out of 5 children in West Virginia going hungry. And so, yeah, that's what we think about most of national politics right now. It's a frustrating game played by rich people for rich people.
I agree. We should be more worried about getting the minimum wage up in Medicare for all than impeaching the president. That's just my opinion. Anyway, a last question. When is the primary? Where can people find more about you?
Yep. So the primary is on May 12th, less than 100 days away. If you're listening to this or watching this, please be in touch. Our website is wvcan'twait.com. My email address is steven@wvcan'twait.com. We have my phone number is 304-610-6512. We want to hear from people in West Virginia and all around the country who are interested in this, that the only way we get a government that works for all of us is if we're in conversation, if we're learning from each other. Rural areas and cities, black and white folks, people coming together from across our differences. So if you're interested in working with us, learning from what we're doing, we want to learn from what you're doing too. And we think this kind of bottom-up politics is possible right now because of the upheaval our country is in, and that the moments when we see the worst of American history are also the moments where we often see the best. And it's up to every one of us to pitch in and start doing it. We've even had people around the country who say, hey, can I sign that West Virginia Can't Wait pledge and run in the same way? And we think the answer in almost every case is yes. We need all of us pitching in. So reach out and we'd love to be in touch. We obviously also welcome donations at wvcan'twait.com/donate.
Steven, I lied. Last question. Have you been in touch with any progressive groups?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're in touch with all kinds of groups, and there's folks will see a series of endorsements rolling out over the next few weeks and months. We welcome support from anybody at the state or national level who's committed to shifting political power from the very wealthy to the rest of us.
I believe you're going to win because, like I said, I've read a lot about you and watched a lot of and studied you and stuff. I am worried about the gym justices that they're going to really blast the media and blast you on the media rather and throw all their money. And we saw what they've done to other progressives with Bernie Sanders and stuff, where people that the billionaires come in. So how are you? I know you're going to get the people out there, but how are you going to worry? Are you worried about that rather? About these guys just dropping millions upon millions of dollars? He's the richest man in West Virginia.
We're ready for it. I mean, this is the thing. It's at the end of the day, people will know us by our enemies, right? That if we do the right things, then the people who are getting rich off everybody are going to dump tons of money into attacking us. And in attacking us, they will show the people of West Virginia which side they're on and which side we're on. And at the end of the day, you need 50 points plus one. We're not going to get every single person to vote with us, but we think we've got a real shot. But again, it's not something that just happens. It's something we have to fight for and scratch for. And, there's an old saying in organizing, you can't control whether or not you win. You only control whether and how you fight. And I'm awfully proud of the way our team is fighting. Our union staff, 9 brilliant, bold, badass women across West Virginia, organizing this political infrastructure day in, day out. Katie Lauer, our campaign manager, the most brilliant campaign strategist in the country. We've got the best people working like hell to try to win a rigged game, and we're in a position to do it. Will it be easy? No. Can we do it? It depends on whether or not we're able to build enough power. We welcome anyone's help in doing that. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks so much. You inspire me, and I hope you inspired other people to run. Thanks so much, Stephen.
Thanks, Rob. Take care.
All right, bye-bye now.